This is really about all of you and what you're needing right now. The Community Foundation just recognized this is sort of a kind of a chaotic and uncertain time for our nonprofit partners right now, and thought, maybe this sort of pausing and thinking about how we can be strategic in our next steps and in our future plans could be helpful for all of you. So I hope that meets that need, and would just love to see your smiling faces. If you are willing to turn your camera on, you can feel free to unmute and ask questions. You can throw them in the chat. We'll just try to accommodate however feels best for you. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce our speakers today and let them sort of dive in and get started. So Melissa Ness is the CEO and founder of Connectify Human Resources. And she has also with her today Kelly Gottner, who is the HR and Client Experience Officer with Connectify. And Kelly's going to be providing some of the information today. In Melissa's words, Kelly is the expert. So we're excited to hear from Kelly. Kelly has over 20 years of experience in human resources in various roles and industries and is a certified HR professional. She is a talent management certified professional and is a senior certified professional through the Society of Human Resource Management and the Human Resources Certification Institute. She currently serves on the State of Iowa's Workforce Development Board and the Greater Des Moines Partnerships Talent Development Board. So I will pause there and pass it over to Kelly and just say a huge thank you to you both for giving your time and your talent today. And we are excited to hear from you. So thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. We are just so grateful and honored to be here today. We know the environment today is complex. We know the world is filled with uncertainty. And so we're just happy to be able to partner with the Community Foundation and the great work that they're doing in the community to be able to help you. Please think through your questions, get them ready for the end when we'll have some time, just some open Q&A time. We're prepared to kind of cover just a few trends, really from an HR lens that we're seeing in the nonprofit space. And we'll get a little bit more into that here in a minute. But a little bit first about Connectify HR. We are Iowa based here locally in the Des Moines area. We are Iowa's only local based PEO. What we do is really partner with small and medium-sized businesses. But our goal is, yes, we're an HR company, but at our core, we serve our clients, we serve our community, and we want to help others. We want to help other businesses, help them focus on, or help them in their back office so that they can really focus on whatever it is that they do best. This is just a snapshot of the amazing humans that we have on our leadership team. And they are backed by a host of very, very talented, another set of individuals who interact with our clients on a day-to-day basis. So PEO, that's kind of the short term for a professional employer organization. So what we do is provide full service human resource capabilities to, like I said, small and mid-sized businesses. This also includes the nonprofit community. Today we serve over 40 nonprofits, and we're super excited to partner with them in that. And like I said, it really allows them to focus on whatever they're doing best, making widgets, supporting the community, fundraising efforts, whatever the case may be. What we also do is we have the ability to lower risks for the organization because we take on some of that liability. So payroll tax is an example where we take on that liability so the employer or the business or the organization doesn't have to. It also gives your ability or gives our clients the ability to attract and retain talent. So we can provide we do provide world-class systems and technology that maybe small and medium-sized businesses wouldn't have access to or couldn't afford. So everything from the actual technology to benefits to HR services, we offer a full complement of those to help support the businesses in our community. So our comprehensive solution, these are just a small number of the things that we help support our clients with. The first three are kind of the core offering, which is our HR services, payroll and payroll tax. And then there's additional products in green: benefits, retirement, workers' compensation. Some clients can choose to elect those benefits, and sometimes they may not. But again, our goal is to help support the businesses. We have subject matter experts. We have a team of certified HR professionals that our clients get to interact with on a day-to-day basis. We have certified payroll partners that process their payroll and make sure that everything's accurate. And then we help with compliance. So compliance, especially this year, we know that compliance is complex. It's changing literally every day. And that's one of our jobs for our clients, is to make sure that they know what they need to know, that they're able to make changes and pivot within their business and their organization to ensure that they're compliant with the ever-changing laws and the ever-changing landscape. So really what sets us apart maybe from other organizations or other types of businesses that do our work, we are relationship-centered service. So like I said, we do HR, but we're at our core, we're a relationship and a client service company. So like I said, we're locally owned and operated. Each client has a designated HR point of contact. In the implementation process, which can be sometimes pretty painful, we do weekly implementation meetings, just again, to come alongside the client and the business, and help them understand kind of the data that we need, so that we can shepherd them through the process. We have enhanced employee experience, so we have a robust employee portal that's got documents and resources and all of the information that they need as an employee at their fingertips. We have response time standards, so we commit to all of our clients and their employees that will respond within 4 business hours. And we also have direct lines. We don't have 800 numbers. We have direct email addresses, direct phone numbers. It's super important that those that we support find us accessible. Again, that's why we're in business, and so we want to make it as easy as possible. We also do quarterly service reviews, again, just to make sure to check in on service, making sure that we're living up to those commitments that we say that we will. And then we're just got best in class too, A-rated carriers. Again, some of the products and services that small businesses couldn't get on their own, they can get through us with partnering with a PEO. So if you're interested in learning more, happy to provide our contact information. And you can also always visit our website at www.connectifyhr.com. All right, let's get into some of those trends that I mentioned. Again, this is more from an HR lens, and certainly the few trends that we're going to talk, or that I'm going to talk about, are just really scratch the surface of what's going on in the nonprofit space. I'm sure some of these are going to look real familiar to you, and most of them too do apply to all businesses, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a regular business. But these are things specific that, you know, as I did research and as we interact with our clients, that are top of mind for them. So I wanted to take a few minutes to review that, and then, like I said, we'll open it up for questions. So hiring and retention, those are probably the two over really the course of the last 5 to 10 years. As the boomer generation retires, everyone is struggling for talent. And then when you get them, how do you keep them? And there is no magic silver bullet. It really is a combination of many things, the things listed on the screen, but also even more than that. But the 5 that we believe can really make a difference, both again in attracting talent to your organization, but then also retaining them. The first one would be a robust onboarding program. There's a lot of data out there, I'm sure you've seen it, where early turnover is a problem. You know, employees who decide to leave an organization within the first 60 to 90 days, that's expensive. And it also is a disruption to your workforce. It's a disruption to the staff that are there. So it's important to have a robust onboarding program. And what do I mean by that? A couple of things. First and foremost, orientation. So sometimes orientation and onboarding are intermixed terms, which is okay, but in our world, we really define those two as separate processes. Orientation is really that first day. giving them a tour of the building, welcoming them, showing them their space, kind of walking through the employee paperwork, all of that good stuff that really generates some excitement about the work that they're going to do. Onboarding is more of a longer term. We like to look at it from really a 90-day perspective, but some employees are going to be onboarding and training, for the first year, depending on the type of role, depending on their experience with that. But what's important to include in an onboarding plan would be just a training plan. So setting out who are they meeting with, who are your subject matter experts within the organization that's going to go over all things policy, all things department processes, the actual roles and duties and responsibilities of their role, who's going to walk through that with them, and really setting kind of the landscape to have that training over a 90-day period. Truly, I know I fall into this. Sometimes you want to give them all the information at once, which is okay. But as humans, we only have so much room in our brains to hold on to that information. So there's actually advantages to having that spread out. Certainly you want to identify the core, like need to know stuff, in that first week or that first 30 days, but what are the items maybe that you can push out a little bit, just so that they have the ability to kind of get a handle on the work that they're doing, and that they have somebody beside them. Other components to an onboarding program that would be important to have, we like to just talk about ambassadors. Some people call them culture ambassadors. They can be your buddy, but somebody within the organization that they can go to, that a new employee can go to ask questions. If you have a question on just something that you might think is silly, and maybe they don't want to go to their manager with that question. So who is their buddy? Who is their go-to person within the organization? It could be within the department. It could be in a different department that they can go to and ask questions. There's a lot of research out there that from a great culture perspective, having a best friend at work or having somebody that you feel closely connected to is one of the ways that you can retain your staff. So onboarding is, including that in the onboarding process, really sets the stage for the rest of their time with you. Other things in the onboarding would be check-ins. So I would always recommend doing like a 30-day, a 60-day, a 90-day check-in. And that typically can be done with the employee's manager. It could be the person once removed, so the manager's manager, but it's really the manager is going to be the linchpin to the employee's experience at the organization. So that's typically who we would like to see do that. And it's really the purpose of that is to just simply ask questions. How is it going? Where do you feel like you need more training? What barriers do you feel like you might have? Are there questions about something that maybe you got information on, but you're still not sure on? So checking in with them on some regular cadence. It doesn't have to be 30, 60, 90. That's just kind of an easy way to remember it. That will help hopefully stave off any type of early turnover. Is just that if they have a connection point and an opportunity that says, this role doesn't, like, I feel like I'm overwhelmed, that I'm not getting trained fast enough, that I'm not learning fast enough, giving them the opportunity to have those kind of open conversations and dialogue is critical to their retention. And then a celebration at the end is something else that I always like to recommend. That's a rough process. I mean, it's been, since I came to Connectify, 4 years since I've taken on a new job. And for some individuals coming into a new role, it's been a long time. And that part can be stressful. So just celebrating the fact that they got through it, that you care about them, that you're there to support them. So again, having some celebration at the end or at some given point where they really feel connected to the organization helps with a strong onboarding program. So those are just a few things. I'll move on, but certainly if you're interested in learning a little bit more, don't hesitate to reach out. Another thing that can help with both attracting talent, but then also keeping talent is offering some type of remote or hybrid option. Flexibility, those three things kind of really go together. We all know that businesses and organizations' needs are different. Some organizations can't do, remote work, either that's fully remote or partially remote, so the hybrid type of options. I always recommend just, evaluate that as an organization, talk about it as a leadership team. What do you think you can do? Certainly the needs of the organization are number one. But then within that framework and within what the business needs, how can you weave in maybe some opportunities for flexibility? And by that, that's not necessarily, you get to come in when you want and you can leave when you want, but maybe it's being able to leave for a doctor's appointment a little bit early and making up the time at a different time that day, or maybe later in the week. Maybe it's being able to leave for kiddo soccer game, during soccer season. Where are those areas that you can provide flexibility that give employees the opportunity to feel like there is balance in their work life and then their personal life? We all know that you can't shut that off at the front door, and certainly, in the spirit of just wanting somebody to bring their full selves to work, which kind of gets into number 5, just providing an environment where they know that that's okay. And then back to a remote or hybrid standpoint, again, you might not be able to offer it, but if you can, maybe it's an afternoon a week, maybe it's Fridays in the summer, whatever the case may be. I think even at the end of the day, if it's something that as an organization you just can't commit to, the fact that you've taken their feedback on it and you've evaluated it and you go back to them and communicate the reasons why you can is going to be huge, not only for just being clear in what your kind of guardrails are, but also just in transparency and trust within the organization. They feel like they're heard. Maybe you can't, like I said, give them everything that they want, but just the fact that you hear what they're saying, take that into consideration, and then get back to them with the why behind the what is important. Number 4, clear career and development paths. We all know training and development. When you look at recent engagement surveys in terms of what's important to employees, flexibility is right up there. Development and growth is right up there. That is something that's more important to the younger generations for sure. So having clear career pathing, some people like to call it development plans, but having a process in place where annually each manager meets with each of their employees and asks, what do you want to do? Where do you want to be this year, next year, in 5 years? And getting an understanding of where they would like to see their career go. Again, there may be opportunities when they're within their organization, or there may not, but it's important that for employees to understand that you value their growth and their development. And again, it doesn't have to always be moving up, especially in small organizations. You only have so many, you only have so many roles, so many opportunities, but there's other ways, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit. There's other things that you can do within an employee's current role that allows them to kind of expand out their skill set, maybe lengthwise as opposed to up and down. And again, just providing those opportunities and having those clear conversations demonstrates to employees that you value them, you want them to grow with you, and then just understands kind of what are they interested in doing long-term, and then how can you take that information and maybe identify where they could slot in the future. And then the last one I'll mention, and this is more for probably on the retention side, but mental health support is so very, very important. It seems to be an even bigger topic in the last couple of years, again, with just the pace in which our world operates, and the just work life and home life. It can be stressful, and nobody really can leave their life at the door when they go to work. And so how do we as organizations and businesses wrap our arms around our employees and say, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that you're having a tough time. How can we help? Making sure that they know that you've got resources, whether it's an employee assistance program. Sometimes your health carriers will have embedded wellness support, whether it's an EAP or maybe there's a phone line that they can call. It's just super critical that they know that, again, whatever they're struggling with in life, that's okay, and that you don't need to maybe know all the details as an employer. Maybe you don't want to know all the details, but just making sure that they know that you are supporting them, that you're here for them, and making sure that they have access to those resources, is critically important. The next trend that we're seeing is AI. So another buzzword in just generally the business world, I would say. But I put this on there, just it is ever changing, it's changing quickly. I know I try to keep up it for myself on a daily and weekly basis, and there's always something new that's out there, a new tool, a new whatever that can be attractive, and I think just the few things that I wanted to point out from an AI perspective, one, and from an HR perspective, it's super important to have a policy in place. And really what that policy is designed to do is what's acceptable from a use perspective. So how do you want to allow or not allow your staff to use AI for work? So maybe as an example, maybe searching for brainstorm ideas on a title for a article that you're writing, or maybe finding out some best ways to do whatever it is, XYZ. How do you create a volunteer program? All of those things can be a good use of AI. But having a policy that clearly defines what's okay, and what's not okay, as an example of what might not be okay, is putting company data or organizational data into AI. Once you do that, depending on the source, it's going to be available to the world. So again, having policies, or having a policy that sets forth what employees can use it for. Maybe there's only certain employees that can use it for. Maybe it's your marketing team, or maybe it's your, whomever the case may be, making sure that it's clear within that policy about who is able to use it, what it can be used for, and then just generally making sure that that employees are trained on whatever the policy is. Usually you can read it, but it's always good to provide examples of what's okay, what's not okay, maybe offering opportunities for, if it is something that you're going to allow your staff to do, giving them the opportunity to ask questions. Well, is it okay if I do, can I use it for XYZ? So getting some case uses out there that can help employees understand what it's good for, and maybe what you don't want them to use it for. And then the last one is just auditing, making sure, finding a mechanism or a process in which you can make sure that the policy is being followed. This one might be a little bit more difficult to do, but there are tools out there that, from a monitoring perspective, that you can do. When you do those types of things, you want to make sure that your staff knows, hey, whether it's a program that's attached to their laptop or their computer that can evaluate, kind of an audit, what it's being used for. It's always good to be transparent and clear about those uses. Nobody has a reasonable expectation to privacy in the workplace, but you always want to be clear and transparent as much as you can. That's what creates that trust within the organization. And it gives employees the opportunity to ask questions. If you find that maybe somebody's misusing it, maybe it's just that they didn't know. And so then that cycles back up to, okay, maybe we need to do some more training. So start with a policy, and from that perspective, get some training in place, and then auditing is always a best practice. Embracing change. This one just really captures some of the things that are going on, again, from a external environment standpoint, kind of what we're seeing from a labor market perspective. But there are really three things that I think are good for organizations to think about, and start to maybe put into place to help protect, mitigate some of those things that are happening in the environment. So I'll start with just upskilling and reskilling. You probably heard those terms. They're also kind of buzzwords, kind of like AI in the HR space, but Both of them are really about learning and developing skills. Um, but the difference is that reskilling is really learning a whole new set of skills. So for example, and I'll kind of tag in AI, let's say you have a role within your organization that you can automate. Maybe it's making phone calls. We'll just use that as an easy one. So that you've got a really great, talented person, great attitude, want to keep them in the organization. How can you essentially repurpose their skill set or give them new skills, reskill them to be able to make contributions to the organization that you really need? And so it's important that you understand within that process kind of what are their interests, where do you think that maybe there was alignment from what they were doing before to what they're doing today. Upskilling is more about just expanding their current skill set. So again, in the age of it's difficult to find talent sometimes. Maybe you've got somebody who's a star performer on your team. They're doing a fantastic job at their current role, but maybe there's something else within the organization that that is a priority or a need that you have. Could you upskill them, provide those additional skills that they need to perform that duty? And maybe they could handle both. Again, there's a balance. You'll want to look at capacity, so it doesn't get to be too much. But looking at how you can develop them and expand them this way, similar to what I was talking about before with career paths and development paths, those always don't have to be vertical. A lot of times they can be horizontal. So how can you equip them with those new skills to be able to support your organization and provide additional training? Contingency planning and continuity planning. I did not make a mistake on that or duplicate it. Those are, a lot of times those things can become interchangeable, but they are really two different things. And again, in a world today where things are changing quickly, I think it's important to have both of these aspects or start thinking about both of these aspects for your organization. So we'll start with contingency planning. Contingency planning is really about having kind of predefined responses to specific risks. So I'll give you, it's more of kind of what would you do on a reactive standpoint if something happened? So common examples in today's world, cyber attacks, natural disasters, but it could also be an abrupt departure of a team member. Maybe something happened in their life and they're here one day and they're, they can no longer work there. They've got other things that in their personal life that they have to address. So thinking through kind of what are those events that you would have that could potentially happen that you need to be prepared for. And so it's walking through a process of really, what would we do in that situation? So really almost role playing or playing it out. What would we do in that situation? How would we respond? What would be the resources that we would need? What would the communication plan look like? What are maybe other things that we should really have in place today that we don't? That we would maybe need to help us better set us up if one of those situations ever happens. Again, a lot of the times it's probably never going to happen, but to have the peace of mind, to have processes and responses already ready to go if it does happen is going to be a critical function, especially in today's world. Take, for example, some of the fundraising, or not the the funding changes that we're seeing. If you lost a grant today or tomorrow, what would you do? Where would you, if you've got certain employees that are working on that, what would they do? Where would they go? Where could you potentially look for other funding opportunities? What does your communication plan look like with your donors, with your employees, with your staff? So again, just getting those kind of the framework together, should something like that happen, is going to be critical. So on the flip side of that, continuity planning is more proactive. So these are things that you're going to do when you think about, and it is tied to contingency planning, but some of those critical functions, what could you proactively plan for and do in advance of that? So a good example of that would be like succession planning. So you've got maybe an executive director or maybe a key employee within your organization that's been there a while, and they're thinking about retiring. Okay, so what are those things? What are those key responsibilities What are the things that maybe you don't know about that need to be documented? So process documentation. So taking steps to really frame up and strengthen your infrastructure so that when those types of events do happen, which sometimes you're going to have a little bit of foresight into that, but sometimes you won't. But just again, going through a process of identifying kind of what would those threats be for your organization, or maybe what would those events be? And what would you do if and when that happens to be able to support? One of the other things with both of those scenarios is just incorporating training and testing. It's nice, you can have your plans. This is kind of a joke, a proverbial joke within the business continuity industry, but you put them on a shelf and then you dust them off when you need them. It's critical that you're not doing that you're reviewing them annually, that you're training on them, and that you're even you can potentially do like testing scenarios or tabletop exercises where you play it out. Okay, if this happens, let's kind of walk through it as a team and figure out, do we have the steps in place? Where are our gaps? What are the things that we didn't think of? So role playing that in real life is kind of helps bring to light maybe some of those things that you didn't think about.